Hello, I'm Peter Vaughan, and today I'm back at Horton Waters farm campsite near Newark. And just down the road, of course, are SMC Motorhomes, importers of Frankia. But this doesn't look like your usual Frankia, does it? It's not a big luxury A-Class. In fact, it's a modest 7 metre or so low-profile motorhome. Not the usual recipe from this respected German brand. But I'm quite excited to have this Frankia Now that I've now got for test, because this was our best fixed single bed motorhome in the Motorhome Awards 2024. In fact, it was launched at the previous Caravan Salon, the September 2023 Düsseldorf Caravan Salon, where it made a surprise appearance and impressed us straight away, going on to win the Out and About Live Motorhome Award for that category. So let's have a look at what makes this such a special motorhome. Now, the one we have here is to UK launch spec. Normally prices start at 82,995, but in usual German style there are quite a lot of options you'd probably want to add on to that. In fact, to spec one as you see it here would cost £101,637. But hold on, you don't have to pay that, because the launch spec is available at £89,995, which for a high quality German motorhome with all the toys seems pretty good value. The one thing you will notice, of course, is that that launch spec is not the latest Series 10 Fiat Ducato with the little slotty grille. Some may actually prefer the fact that it's on the Series 9 because, well, I think this front is prettier. And it actually says Fiat for once rather than Frankia or Rapido or Knaus or whoever. So, black cab comes as standard, and the alloy wheels too. Under the bonnet, it's the 140 horsepower engine mated to the 9-speed automatic gearbox. Note the 9-speed because the latest Fiat has gone to 8 speeds. So the vital statistics, well, it's 7.05 metres long, 2.36 metres wide and 3.05 metres high. Quite tall for a low profile motorhome. It's on a 3.5 tonne chassis, so anybody can drive it on standard car licence. And in standard German spec, that would give you 550 kilos of payload. But with all the options fitted on this UK launch spec, unfortunately, of course, that impacts on your payload and drops it down to around 350 kilos. But if you have the appropriate licence, of course, you can upplate the chassis. Another choice that you have with the Now is 3 different colour schemes. And you can tell the colour scheme on the inside by the colour of these stripes on the outside. So this yellowy colour indicates that this is the sun. So we'll see what that looks like a bit later on the inside. If you've got blue stripes, well, that's the ocean scheme, and that gives you a sort of bluey turquoise, a little bit bland compared with this one, I think, on the inside. My second choice, and this is my favourite, but my second choice would be what they call peach, which seems a rather odd choice of name for what's more of a dusky pink. Reminds me slightly of Rose Turkish Delight, one of my favourites. Now, this may be a smaller motorhome than we're used to seeing from Frankia, but with this typical Frankia graphic on the side, there's no mistaking the branding, and it feels every bit as premium as you'd expect of a Frankia, and that starts with things like these flush aluminium framed windows. And then a really nice feature is this slide out storage area in the skirt. Takes up to 70 kilos, ideal for your levelling wedges, your mains lead, and all that sort of thing. You've got your toilet servicing hatch, of course. Note that everything seems to fit nicely sealed. Then your gas locker, which takes two 11 kilo cylinders, and they're side by side for easier changeover. And then of course at the back, you've got your typically Germanic garage area. Before we look at the storage though, I should just mention water capacities. Fresh water is inboard, ideal for winter camping, and that's 130 litres. Waste tank is underslung, and that's insulated, and that's 95 litres. So the garage, well, you've got twin loading doors, full size ones, and they're both on gas struts. Illumination is a bit lacking, especially as it's rather black in here. You've just got this one strip light at the end. It is heated, and I do like this nice practical floor, which goes well with the adjustable tie down points. You've got a main socket in here, and all your habitation electrics are in this area too, behind these grills. So easy to get at. Dimensions, it's a maximum of 1.02 metres wide and 1.19 metres high. They've even thought about somewhere to put the awning winding handle, and the 4.5 metre rollout awning is part of the launch spec. As I say, everything on this van is included in that $89,995 price tag. When you look at the back of the van, again, it looks quite smart. There's a bit of curve to it. You've got this nice panel at the top, including the twin lens reversing camera, again in the spec. And this lower section is separate, so if you do bump it, you haven't got to replace the whole rear panel. Actually, there's not a lot more to report on this side. Of course, you've got your awning light, your mains hookup, and the vent for your Truma boiler. It's the Combi 6E, so gas and electric, and it's the 6 kilowatt one, so the more powerful Combi unit. Your habitation door, well, there's no window, but we'll come on to that on the inside. The door is linked to the central locking, and the step automatically retracts when you drive off. That's enough of the outside, because what you really want to see is what makes this a special motorhome, an award-winning motorhome, and that's all about the inside. The first thing you touch before you're even in the van, of course, is the grab handle. So that's real wood for tactility. And then as soon as you're in, you feel, well, it does feel a bigger van than 7 metres. And Frankia have really put a lot of effort into the ambience, the lighting. There's things like balancing the windows. So you've got one window in the kitchen, sort of diagonally opposite the one window in the lounge, and then 2 windows opposing each other in the bedroom. So you haven't got a mismatch in terms of daylight coming in from one side or the other. Plenty of daylight coming in from above too. You've got this big overcab sunroof and a big roof light over the rear lounge, as well as a smaller roof light in the kitchen area. But it's the artificial lighting that's really special. These rectangular lights in the top of the drop down bed, you've got reading lights up there, you've got lights set into the overcab area, you've got mood lights around the bedroom, you've got lighting below the kitchen. It really is very, very comprehensive, and that really does change the whole feel of the vehicle. The yellow, the sun colour that I mentioned earlier, well, it's nice, but it's not overdone. So you've got the scatter cushion, these lovely cord sections set into the side panels with magazine pockets and so on. It's just enough to give it a real lift without being OTT. Another surprising detail perhaps is the windowless habitation door. Not an economy measure, but one to improve the aesthetic. So no cheap looking plastic mouldings on the door, just nice soft touch fabric and a really sturdy handle to pull the door shut. And of course there's a little storage pocket at the bottom. That soft touch feel is carried on along the side here, where you've got your main control panel and also the controls for your Truma boiler. But perhaps the most novel detail is this cabinet just forward of the door. It looks just like an ordinary cupboard, doesn't it? But it hides a little secret. This concealed button, press that, and then you can simply lift off the top part of the cupboard. You can, if you wish, add a little extra cushion and turn it back into a seat. More as you'd expect in this sort of layout, more conventional. But then this part of the cupboard, that too can be a seat, or a very comfy footstool. The other part of the lounge, of course, is a conventional half dinette bench that gives you your rear travel seats. It's a little bit firm and upright for my liking, but of course the cab seats will be the prime choice on site, especially if you want to watch the TV, which again is part of this UK launch spec. Despite what I've said about the bench, I do like this sort of armrest section along the sidewall, and again you've got this upholstered sidewalls, gives it a premium feel. And then the table, well, when it's folded like this, it does greatly increase the feeling of space, but still gives you somewhere for snacks and coffees. It twists and slides, and then when the family's in for dinner, well, it unfolds, and all four of you should be easily able to reach your dinner around this family-sized table. Underneath the back seat, of course, is where your water tank lives, and there's an inspection hatch for servicing and maintenance of the wastewater tank. Up here, I love these retainer nets to keep magazines or whatever in place. Even the overcab section has a similar treatment, although you might need to be careful that things don't slip through the gaps, but at least it's more practical than the usual open space that, well, everything's just going to come tumbling out. And if the devil truly is in the detail, well, look at the metal hinges on the seat base, not those horrible plastic things that break and snap. And then, well, the blinds, yes, they're pleated blinds, but you won't see these, I don't think, on any other brand. They're 2-layer, better for insulation. If the lounge area feels exceptionally spacious for this style of 7-metre motorhome, well, then that trick is repeated in the kitchen. For one thing, you've got a nice wide aisle, but have you noticed what's missing? There's no top cupboards, and doesn't that really make a difference? You've got a little bit of storage because you've got these racks that you can keep your condiments and so on in, but no big bulky top cupboard. Instead, you've got this tall unit here, and that includes a pull-out section with your coffee machine. Coffee machine, again, is included in the launch spec. You've got more shelf space, ideal for your pots and pans or your crockery. Really useful space. And then, again, really practical design with the cutlery drawer that is huge. For the UK, of course, there's an oven and grill, this Thetford duplex unit, and alongside that, a decent sized cupboard with a bin. The only downside, perhaps, is that the hob has just 2 rings, but they are of different sizes. And then the fridge, well, that's back here. That's an 84-litre compressor fridge, so more efficient in many ways than a 3-way one, better in really hot weather, and they get down to temperature much quicker than a 3-way fridge will normally. So that's your kitchen area, and the only thing that's lacking perhaps is a bit more worktop space. It could do with perhaps an extension at the end, although you have at least got a cover on the sink. And then of course opposite the galley is your washroom. You've got these useful coat hooks on the outside wall, wide tambour door entrance, the nice Dometic toilet, which I prefer, feels more durable, more solidly constructed than the other one. And well, when you're sitting on the throne, there's a decent amount of leg and shoulder room. Most of us should be pretty comfy here. And that's due to this shape of the wash basin, which has this neat rail at the front to hang a towel. Storage is excellent too, because not only have you got this little shelf here, but the cupboard behind you, it's all got shelves with these rails to stop things falling out when you arrive on site. Wooden duckboard, of course, and then the pièce de résistance. Just undo a little bolt, swing the wall to one side, your towel can stay in situ, and well, you've got a really good sized shower. Yeah, there is a little step in it, but that's really not much of an issue. There's good headroom, you've got a roof light to let all the steam out when you've finished. It is a really decent sized shower. There's a small step up into the bedroom, and then, do you remember that cupboard that became a footstool or a seat? Well, it's now also a useful step up onto the rear beds. Makes for easy access, and so much nicer than a ladder. The beds, well, they're not quite identical twins. The near side one is 1.9 metres long, or 6'3", and it's 81 centimetres wide, which is 2'8". Its opposite number is longer, 1.97 metres, or 6'5½", but slightly narrower, 79 centimetres, or 2'7". But the key thing is, at the head of the bed, they share the full width of the van. So each bed at the head is 1.09 metres, or 3'7" wide. You've also got these reading lights and rear speakers as well. But you have got these overhead cupboards. So can you sit up? Well, maybe. Just about. Because with these big cushions, well, you'd probably only need one little extra pillow. Certainly, if I double up with these big cushions, now I can actually comfortably sit up in bed. Other things to note, well, you've got these big windows with these nice frames on either side. You've got that big roof light. You've got a little storage pocket at the end of the bed on the off side in that tall unit that also shares kitchen space. And over on the near side, a cupboard. What you haven't got is any sort of proper door or partition to separate the bedroom, but you have got just a half-height curtain. Now that makes more sense if you turn this area into a double bed. And for that, you need a slot-in panel and an extra cushion. Now you could keep these in one of the underbed wardrobes or indeed in the garage. And it's very simple, but quite effective. This panel actually locks in place. You can see it's got a button at the end to release it again. That is a bit of German engineering for you. And then the extra cushion just slots into place, and now you do need a ladder for access. And now if you move the cushions around, you have a truly vast bed. If you sleep across the vehicle, it's 2.12 metres, or 6'11½" long by 1.74 metres at its narrowest, 5'8½" wide. That is a super-sized bed. Completing the bedroom area are underbed wardrobes on either side, behind these tambour doors, and each of them have these pull-out hanging rails. So your clothes are easier to access, but they aren't very deep wardrobes, not even really shirt length, as you can see. On the near side here, you have got a little bit of concealed storage. Might be useful for some valuables. And then over on this side, under a trapdoor, you've got your 95 amp hour AGM battery. And behind that, again, really hidden away, is your Truma boiler. I can't help feeling that on this grey and dull day in autumn, well, as it gets darker outside, the inside of this Frankia Now, well, it just gets more and more inviting with this lovely lighting and the great colours. But then there's one more thing to show you, and that is the other bed. Electric drop-down bed, electric of course at this price point. You do have to keep your finger on the button the whole time, and it does take a full 25 seconds to lower all the way down, which I think is one of the slowest electric beds I've come across. But once it's fully down, of course, you need a ladder again, and this time a slightly longer ladder. But once you're up into the bed, it is a fully rectangular bed, and it's a good size. 1.98 metres long, that's 6'6", by 1.19 metres wide, or 3'10½". You have got a roof light above for ventilation, often that's omitted. And, well, there is just one slightly strange thing. If you want to read, well, you'll sleep this way round where the reading lights are and the magazine pockets. But if you want to watch TV, well, you'll need to be this way round because the TV is at that end. Well, you'll just have to decide. The other thing you'll have to decide is, well, about access in and out of the van, because, well, you might need to be practicing your limbo. And if you want a morning brew, well, the cooker lid hits on the bed. Now, I think if you left the lid up before you drop the bed down, you probably could use the burner nearest the sink. I wouldn't use the other one because you might set fire to the underside of the bed or something, which, well, probably the advice from Frankia is don't use the hob with the bed down, I guess. So now it's time to take this Frankia Now for a road test. Automatic, of course, and the first thing you notice is that you haven't got a manual handbrake. You've got an electric parking brake that automatically releases as you pull away. You also got this Zenek double DIN head unit that does your reversing camera, DAB radio, Apple CarPlay, all that sort of thing. So that's again included in this UK launch spec. Cab seats have twin armrests and height adjustment, and you get the leather steering wheel, but it's the same Fiat cab. Yes, obviously this is the Series 9, not the Series 10, but really you won't notice a lot of difference, if any, really. Fiat's bean counters have not let them change very much with the new cab. Well, new in the loosest possible sense of the word. So you're not losing out much by having this version, and you have got that 9-speed automatic gearbox, which is lovely and smooth. 140 horsepower engine seems adequate. We've just been whizzing down the A1 at 70, and acceleration was adequate. It cruises nicely at the legal limit, and that's all you can ask for, really. The only thing I should say is, of course, we're very, very lightly laden with just me on board. Typical Fiat, it's a firm ride, but that does mean it's nice and stable. The other thing that you should notice, though, is that This is your typical Lincolnshire back road with typical potholed surface, but this motorhome doesn't sound like you're driving some sort of flat pack furniture in a tumble dryer. It's really remarkably free of rattles, and that's very impressive. It does show that coach-built motorhomes can be virtually rattle-free. Why can't they all do it like this? Before I sum up then, just a reminder that these videos are brought to you by outandaboutlIve.co.uk, where you'll find tons of motorhome advice, hundreds of motorhome reviews, and of course access to our motorhome shows. Now, back to the Frankia Now, and well, of course, it's an award winner, so you'd expect it to be impressive. And it really is impressive. Now, we're on the eve of the announcement of the 2025 awards, but this van really deserves its 2024 award as Best Fixed Single Bed Motorhome. But it's not just the bedroom that's good. It really does include, well, some nice fresh design in terms of the aesthetics, but also some clever details, things like that storage box that becomes a seat, a stool, a step, and so on, and the clean lines throughout the vehicle, dropping that high level cupboard in the kitchen really does make a difference to the feel of the vehicle. And the lighting inside is just superb. You'll have gathered I like this motorhome, but what don't I like? Well, I'd like this seat just to be a little bit softer, a little bit squishier. I'd like there to be a little bit more kitchen worktop. Although I suppose if you leave that cupboard as a cupboard, you have got a little bit of worktop space on the other side of the door there. Other than that, well, there really isn't a lot to dislike. And at this price, 90 grand, 89,995, it does seem like a lot of van for the money, because the quality is really in the league of Frankia's bigger motorhomes. You're not getting a lesser Frankia, you're just getting a smaller one. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and to subscribe to the channel. See you soon with the next motorhome review.